Alrighty guys, as you keep bringing us into the Dragon Ball Legends TOP guide video. This is going to be in regards to season 74, but as for last season, we ended up at rank 2964, which is actually a bit surprising to me, considered that we struggled quite a bit at the end of the second half, right? This ranking did allow us to also get the top cut title for the season, which isn't necessarily the primary goal of these videos, but is definitely always welcome. We did in fact guarantee that juicy 1000 CC, especially with Ultra Gohan right around the corner. And as always, before we continue on with the video, there will be timestamps in the description down below. That way you guys can go ahead and get to where you need to go. So the first thing I want to talk about is our general tips before we get onto our path, and we're switching it up a little bit here to make it a little bit more streamlined. The first thing you want to do when you're building your TOP team is once you get your 6 units together, or your 8 units, I'm sorry, you want to start getting whatever unit's most important to you, whether it be your damage dealer, your super attacker, your healer, whoever is more squishy. You want to get that unit to friendship rank 10, and you're probably asking yourself, why do I need to get them to friendship rank 10? Because getting them to that friendship rank 10 is going to increase all of their stats, their health, strike attack, blast attack, defenses, critical, key restore speed, which is probably the most important stat right here for TOP, because that does dictate the attack order for your squad. So you can see right here, when we look at regular stats, you're going to notice a difference across the board. So the easiest way to actually farm this friendship rank is through the events tab. You're going to want to go into this specific stage right here, the Let's Fight events. There's 3 of these. You get 3 of these a day. I do advise doing them every single day. This is only for 1 character though, so it can be a little bit of a slow burn grind. Another way to farm your friendship rank is going into the story mode. You're going to go to part 6, book 1, chapter 8. This one is a little bit more flexible because you can farm friendship rank of 3 characters at once, but it takes way longer. It's extremely tedious. I don't necessarily recommend doing this unless you're like right on the verge of getting that last friendship point. Another thing that I do recommend is actually farming up this friendship rank equip. You can see right here, this is pretty much my friendship rank equip farming team. I need to go ahead and start. These are basically all the units that I'm trying to get to friendship rank 10 right here, right? Like this guy's at friendship rank 7. He's right there at friendship. He's a couple levels away, right? The reason why I have, like, there's no particular like reasoning to the units themselves. It's just that you want to put all these equips on them, right? This specific equip right here is so good because it gives you an increase to friendship rank gained, right? You get 3% for every slot right here. These don't need to be perfect like mine. Like mine are all red slotted right here, but that took me a while to get. Just getting all these equips on a team is going to help out tremendously. The way to get this is from the exchange shop through the Z Metal shop. And speaking of exchange shop, we're going to go ahead and go into the permanent tab, the rare metal tab, and there's going to be a TOP tab. These are for your in TOP equips right here, right? Because they are separate from your PvP equips. The one that I always recommend on all your units is going to be this TOP out of the way equip, just because it gives you base health. I like the base health a lot. Some people argue against it. I feel like it makes my units a little bit more tankier. That's always going on my units, and then I always put on this explosive clash right here. This one is kind of sucky. It sucks just because there's a condition on it. You have to have your unit at 7 stars or above to actually be able to equip this. And then as for my other equips, they're going to be based on your typing, right? So this one's for melee type, this one's for range type, this one's for defense type, and then this one is for support type, and that pretty much just goes. There's no other condition for these. It can be 0 stars for these ones, so I definitely do think you should have one of these on your units. And then below that is just going to be basically your filler equips. If you can't equip those ones, you're going to have to pick from these other silver equips. And for the final way that I would say to beef up your units for TOP is actually arts boosting in the special boost panel, right? Because the special boost panel is going to give you a buff to your defenses, right? While the other ones, they will give you a buff to your offenses. Like this one's obviously for blast attack, this one's going to be for strike attack. The special boost is going to be for your strike defense and your blast defense. This is a last resort though, because I know that these materials are very scarce and it's kind of hard to get them in game, right? So I would probably prioritize this last. All right, so the next thing we're going to be talking about is our pathing. So you can see right here, this is going to be the route we're going to be taking throughout the season. It's going to be split into 2 parts. You got your first half and then your second half. The most important fights on this pathing right here is going to be the circled red fights. If you deviate off of the blue pathing, that's more than fine with me, but I do recommend going on to the red fights, right? And you could see, especially at the beginning of the season, the beginning half of the board, I go for the much easier fights, because those fights aren't going to be as important as the later fights, because this game does reward you based off of a win streak bonus, right? So the more of a win streak that you have, the more points that you're going to have. So obviously if you're on your second fight, it's not going to be as impactful as, say, like the 22nd fight, the 23rd fight, right? That win streak can easily be broken by landing on a yellow tile, a green tile, or just losing in general. So you want to maintain that win streak as best as you can. So now let's move on to our pathing tips and tricks. The first stage that you come across is the Sagas from the movie stage, kind of. Bojack is going to be the main threat here because he will awaken R2 on turn 2. You want to kill him before he does that. Another tip here would be to avoid using a unit that is both Sagas from the movies / powerful opponent, because yellow Pycon will stun that unit. Next, we have this future stage. You basically just want to kill the green Mai before the end of turn 2 since he will stun you. I also tend to kill Zamasu last since he inflicts debuffs upon death. Next, we have this Namek Saga stage. I want to kill the tag unit first here. They definitely did the most damage, as we were painfully made aware of last season. Next, we have this Broly stage. Usually I go for the Ultra Broly here first since he stuns at the beginning of turn 2, but this is optional if you're okay with eating the stun. This is only a 3/5 stage, so it shouldn't be too bad if you do. Next, we have this Goku Frieza stage. You want to kill the Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken Goku first since he will super at the start of turn 2, and I typically save the Frieza for last since he will gain 100% to his super upon mitigating a Blast Arts. Alternatively, you can swap all your blast units to strike arts to prevent this from even happening. And the way to go ahead and swap your units from blast or to strike based, whatever it may be, is you click on your desired unit. To the left of their HP, you're going to see a little icon. You click on that icon and it's going to allow you to choose your attack strategy. From there, you can swap them to strike, and then when you're done, you can swap them back over to blast. So next, we have another future stage. Again, you want to kill that green Mai before her stun at the end of turn 2. But also make sure to kill the future Gohan last, since he will buff the entire team, and especially the Trunks, right? Because he does a death buff for all future allies, and then he does another buff for Trunks allies. So right here, we have a double stun and super stage, right? So for this one, you want to try and kill Whis and Beerus in turn 1 before they stun at the beginning of turn 2. If you can't kill both, then at least kill one, right? And then give yourself enough time to kill the yellow Piccolo before he supers at the beginning of turn 3. Next, we have this Goten stage. You want to kill Goten before turn 2 since he supers, and he does have a really high key resource speed upon transforming. Next, we have a Gohan stage, right? This is all Gohans right here. Beast Gohan is probably going to be the biggest threat here. Right next to him is going to be the tag unit, so you probably want to take care of those two first. The rest should be somewhat easy to take out. I mean, the green Gohan and the yellow Gohan, or the yellow ultimate Gohan, are pretty tanky, but shouldn't be too high in damage. And as for the last stage that we're going to take on is going to be this regeneration stage. This one's going to be hard regardless. The Kid Boo's debuff, Janemba debuffs, DKP debuffs, Cell debuffs, basically good luck, right? Still, even with all that, it still feels better than the other stages, right? Because you go onto this fusion stage, there's 4 ultras. You go onto this stage, there's double MUIs, there's a tag unit, there's the Android 17 support, there's a blast cover change, and this purple Jiren stuns you right out the gates. And we have the superhero stage. This is a terrible stage to deal with. That Pan support is insane. Beast Gohan is insane. The Gammas are it's so much. And then even over here, you have another fusion stage with double ultras. Not as bad as the 4 ultras, but it's still bad nonetheless. So now moving into our top teams, the first thing we're going to be talking about is Sagas from the movies. Probably the top team on my radar this season, actually, since I have 3 teams to show for this tag, and they are all viable. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the rank 1 player, the homie, Battle More. He's rocking PyCon, so that's the first thing I want to talk about. That guy has a guaranteed super on the start of turn 3. The only thing that sucks about this PyCon is technically he's not Sagas from the movies. He's only an anime original Sagas, right? Still, he is Z tier. That's going to help out a bunch right there. And then you also have the purple Bojack who supers, and then you have the Zaha Hills. Again, this Zaha is not going to be on the tag of Sagas from the movies, but the heals are indiscriminate, meaning that it doesn't matter what tag your allies are going to be, he's still going to heal them nonetheless. You do have the the Zenkai buff with this purple Turles, and then you also, the only thing that I would change here basically is the green Frieza. I would dip down into S tier and pick up the Bujin instead. He's going to have better support, or he's going to have a better Z ability for your Hera clan members, and then also he has that stun at the start of turn 2, which I really do like. So next we have this rank 10 player rocking just pretty much just a full-on Hera squad team, and obviously the synergy here is going to be amazing because most of these guys have Z abilities catered towards Sagas in the movies, plus an extra bonus to specifically Hera clan members. You can see right there, and then this Goku is amazing since he does buff base health plus strike attack, and then this guy, he also has a buff against hybrids, which you do see a lot of hybrids on the board this season, and at the start of the second turn, he's basically building up his special move gauge, right, so by 40%, and then honestly, I would still go ahead and slide the purple Bojack on here just to have that extra super attack damage. Plus, you really also like the synergy between this EX Thouser and a specific cooler unit. Pretty much usually, it's always this blue cooler is what I see a lot of people pair him up with. But it doesn't have to be the blue cooler, right? It can be a cooler of your choosing right here. It doesn't dictate it has to be that specific one, but either way, Thouser and Cooler pretty much go hand in hand right there. So for the last variation of Sagas from the movies, we're going to be looking at this somewhat of a Zenkai Sagas, right? Which is probably my favorite setup since you're going to have tankier units due to the Zenkai stats, and you know, obviously you have this purple Turles, and then you have this red metal Cooler right here, who's actually pretty good because at the end of each turn he does heal himself. He has a buff against Super Saiyans, which is always going to be welcome. There's tons of Saiyans throughout the entire game, and he has some decent debuffs here overall, right? And then these filler units that he has up here, they're not necessarily, well, this guy's not necessarily the best, but he does have a buff against regeneration, which can help in situations, right? Once he gets below 50% HP, he kind of gets that mechanic where he starts healing up a little bit. This Vegeta, on the other hand, though, is extremely tanky. I actually am a fan of this guy because after receiving an attack, he heals himself by 7%, and that activates twice. 7% is a lot, too. Right, and then at the start of the battle, if you have a Goku ally, you get 20% of your ultimate damage inflicted. And, you know, the way to get their ultimates to activate is if you put them on a yellow slot and they have 100% to their special move gauge. I guess another sleeper unit here would be this yellow Turles. I've never seen him in action before, but he does have decent support from what I can tell. Alright, so next we have GT, and the initial team that I have shown here can easily have Zaha replaced with the superior healer, a Super Baby 2, of course at the cost of points because Super Baby 2 is perma C tier. That doesn't really stop me from ever using him though, right? And pretty much we almost end up around the top 3k to top 6k range. That does guarantee that 1000 CC, by the way. So I think it's a healthy trade-off. Again, I'm not really looking to be a rank 2 player or a rank 1 player for ToP. I just want to get that 1000 CC. And you can see here I do have a couple of replacements for units that you may not have, that I definitely don't have, right? Like the Majub, I would probably swap in this red Goku. He does have super attack farming abilities, right? Because he gets 50% at the start of the first turn, which is nice. And then plus this baby Vegeta, although he's not going to be as good at that Trunks at high stars, this guy still, he heals himself and he has support, which is still pretty solid overall. And on the other hand, I do have another team shown here for GT that includes Super 17, which may pique your interest. Of course, I have my own modifications to it at the cost of points right here, but don't necessarily be afraid of those C tier units. I do actively recommend running 1 to 2 C tier units. 3 C tier units definitely is pushing it. But for example, here you can replace the blue EX Baby for Super Baby 2 heals, or you can replace that purple Goku for Bola, because Bola also gives heals, right? She actually heals the entire board, supports the entire board, heals by 2%, and that activates 2 times for a total of 4% for all of your allies right here. Again, those are all C tier units right there, all 3 of those. But the only thing with this is if you do end up running 3 C tiers for GT, I probably would recommend at least always having 1 of them on backup. You don't want all 3 of them on the main roster at all times, because that's definitely going to hurt your points. So next thing we are going to be talking about is the Super Warrior setup, right? So it's a pretty standard setup. Yellow Piccolo is going to be able to heal those 4 quadrants that you can see right there. The blue Tien has pretty much most of your damage dealing abilities. The red Tien, he debuffs the entire enemy board, which is always very useful, right? And then you have the Baseball Yamcha, who supports the team. Not only does he support the team, but he also mitigates a Blast Arts attack. Then you also have the Zenkai Krillin down here, who's able to have the Solar Flare ability, which basically it stuns the enemy, right? And not only that, but so what I usually do if I'm looking at Super Warriors, I probably am swapping out that EX Green TN for the Sparking ToP TN, because this guy has a Solar Flare as well, and he not only does he have the Solar Flare, but he also gets 100% to his special move gauge, right? Which is pretty much the reason why he's always in the lower tier. I'm pretty sure he's like perma C or B tier usually. Yeah, for this season, he is in B tier. And if you want to make this team more sustainable, you can also add Zaha for backup heals in exchange for one of the purple units. If you do swap out one of the purple units for him, I probably would say Yajirobe. And some of you guys might disagree with that. The only reason why I do say that is because his Z ability, although it's amazing, right? 22% to max base health. I love health buffs, but it's not for Super Warriors. It's only for Saiyan Sagas. So it would pretty much only be him. And so the next team that we have here is the Minion Squad. So this team is pretty good and free to play friendly because most of these units are event exclusive. Although it's very limited in terms of the units that you can choose from, right? There's only a couple units that I want to talk about for this team. It centers around your yellow Cybermen and your blue Cybermen, right? So your blue Cybermen, the reason why he's so important is because at the start of the turn, that's for every turn, you get 30% to your special move gauge. So this means on his first entry, he's getting that 30%. By the fourth turn, he's getting that guaranteed super attack. And then your yellow Cyberman is so important because this is the healer at the end of third turn. Ally tag minion, that means every single minion on your board is going to be getting that health restoration of 4%. And the only reason why I have Cell Jr. on here is just because he's Z tier and he can be used on this team. I think he's pretty solid, but do use him if you have him at higher stars, right? I would say probably 6-star minimum, actually. But he does have a heal for himself at the start of the third turn, and he has some just decent stuff overall, including like key recovery and stuff like that. All right, so now let's talk about our beloved Regeneration. This is going to be the team we're going to be using for this season. Let's go through it from Z through C tier. So starting off with Z, we actually have some good options here for once, right? It feels like most of our units we only have like one unit to pick from Z, but we do have this purple cell, debuffs the entire board. I like that. We have this yellow metal cooler who's been doing pretty good, right? We probably need some more stars on him, but he's been doing pretty solid right here. He does have some decent heals and special move gauge charge and stuff like that. And then this baby Vegeta, he also has a debuff for the entire enemy team for the blast damage, which I do like. Now moving on to S tier, our pickups here are going to be two of them, 2 units. This Gohan, the red one. This is pretty much our main red at this point. If you don't have this guy, do use the free-to-play 21. She is phenomenal and pretty much on the same tier as this guy in terms of usability, right? Except she's not on the same tier in terms of score. She's usually in B or C tier. And then we also have this purple Gohan, who actually did pretty good for us last season. So let's go ahead and give him another spin. He does have the bubble shield, which I do like a lot. As for A tier, there's actually a lot of good options here. If you're going to be bringing in green units, definitely pick them from here. We're not going to be bringing green units this season. So if you don't want to bring in double red, which is definitely up to you, you can bring in a green unit and substitute for either the Cell or the Gohan right here. And as for green units that I recommend would probably be this Zenkai Piccolo. He's done phenomenal for me. This first form Cell, he has a really high key restore speed. This guy has the bubble shield, but he's a melee type, so you're not going to see a whole lot of damage for him. This guy's pretty good too. He's also range type, plus he has debuffs, which is pretty good. When we go into B tier, we do see our Boo tanks right here. This is our guaranteed super attacker. He's always going to be on the main squad. Replacement for him is probably going to be up in A tier. The closest thing you're going to get to Gohan is going to be the Zenkai fuses Kami Piccolo. But going back to B tier, we're also going to be trying out this Zenkai Cell. We're going to be getting him up to Zenkai 4 or whatever the max we're going to be able to get him to before part 1 is released, and we're going to see how he does on this squad right here. He has really good key restore speed, especially after he transforms into his revival state at 2,792, and that's only at friendship rank 2, by the way. So that's pretty damn high, right? So he's going to be attacking right alongside the Gohan. So I want to try the Wombo combo with them too. And then in C tier, we do have our Super Baby 2, our main healer right here. If you guys need any replacements for this team, any others that other than the ones that were already described, definitely let me know in the comment section down below. Alright, so now let's go ahead and talk about the new units. We have an Ultra Gohan. I think he's releasing tonight actually. So we are going to be summoning for him. His art looks amazing. Let's go ahead and see these maximum stats right here. At Key Restore Speed 2,588 is pretty high. I'm not going to lie, especially once you get him to Friendship Rank 10, that's going to be extremely solid. He does have the blue card and the ultimate arts right there. And his main ability, oh, we're not even looking at ToP stats, hold on. ToP stats, it's actually at 2,600, I'm sorry. He does have the blue and the ultimate. His main ability, he is going to have 100% to damage inflicted, 25% to damage reduction, and on per attack, he gets health back by 1% and 10% to damage inflicted. Already looking pretty solid. After receiving an attack, health is 50% or below, you restore health by 5%, and you upgrade your special move arts for free. And before receiving a special move, Awaken Ultimate or Arts, you get minus 15% to damage received, 15% to special move gauge charge rate, and the effect will activate even if an ally performs. Okay, good. I thought he was about to counter it straight up. That would have been crazy. Okay. So the next ability, and this is for the full board right here, as you can see, full board range. Before receiving a Strike Arts attack, you do the cover change. It is health gated by 30%. Before receiving a Strike Arts attack, you activate a counter and nullify it. And after nullifying said attack, you get 15% to key recovery and 100% to special. Oh, damn, that's gonna be. We're definitely gonna have to remember that, and we're gonna have to play around that. Thankfully, most of our units are blast based, but for all you strike based users out there, you got to be aware of that. And on special move or ultimate arts action, 10% to damage inflicted and cancels attribute downgrade. Honestly, I thought it was going to be way more lengthy of a kit right here, but this is already pretty good, right? That guaranteed super attack, or it's not a guaranteed super attack, but guaranteed upon mitigating a strike arts is pretty solid. His ultimate ability, or his ultra ability to start of the battle, allies 10% to damage inflicted. And depending on if he has a hybrid Saiyan squad or not, he gets 5% to damage inflicted per ally hybrid Saiyan and plus 5 to key recovery. Okay, he's not as busted as I thought he was going to be. You just got to be really mindful of the strike cover change. So next we're going to be talking about the Zenkai Cell, who we're going to actually be trying out, right? Because I want to have more units that we can possibly rely on here. So ToP stats, we have a maxed out right here. Key Restore Speed 2,500. Once he transforms, 2,700, which is huge. He does have the regular blue card. At the start of the battle, 15% damage inflicted. And then when he dies, he comes back with 100% health, another 60% to damage inflicted, 20% to damage reduction, 20% to special move gauge charge rate, and you cancel attribute downgrades of normal conditions. Once transformed, the transformation will remain even after the battle ends. Every time an ally is defeated, 10% to special move damage inflicted, and 15%. See, that ability is worthless for us because we don't want our allies to be defeated, right? His second ability, he does have a buff against Saiyans or hybrid Saiyans. That is useful. I like that a lot. 25% to damage inflicted on that. Start of the first turn, 25% to damage inflicted, another 30 to key recovery. At the start of the second turn, 25% to damage inflicted, plus 15 to key recovery. At the start of the fourth turn, you restore health by 2%. That's not necessarily a lot. You also get another 25% to damage inflicted. So he's gonna, I mean, it's just all damage. He just has all damage here. He doesn't really have mitigation too much. He doesn't really have like debuffs, or he's inflicting debuffs or stuff like that. Hopefully he does well. And also his Zenkai ability is not for regeneration, it's for androids, so he's probably going to be better off on an android team, but I still want to try him out nonetheless. Alrighty guys, that's going to go ahead and wrap it up for today's video. Hopefully you guys did enjoy. If you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns relating to ToP, whatever it may be, let me know in the comment section down below. And as always, if you guys do enjoy the content, make sure you guys leave a like and maybe even consider hitting that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Later!